Hello, I'm David Curl and I'm a counsellor working from Therapy Spaces Putney, which is close to East Putney Tube, and also online. And I work with teenagers, with parents of teenagers, and with adults generally. And there's a bit more information at my website, www.davidcurlcounselling.com. And over these 5 Fridays in July, I'll be recording some short videos. So in the next one, I'm going to tell two jokes. Not because anyone who's a professional comedian needs to fear for their livelihood just yet, but because one illustrates something about what it's like to seek counselling, and the other one illustrates what we might reasonably expect from counselling if we do make that shorter or longer term commitment to ourselves that counselling involves. After that, so starting in a fortnight, I'll be doing a 3-part series about the stages of adolescence. And I'm hoping that may feel relevant to you if you're a parent, an educator, an extended family member in a family that contains one or more teenagers, or even just a member of the community. Because I feel that we all have to reckon with adolescence one way or another, even if it's us being on good terms with our own inner teenager. Because I feel that's as relevant as actually getting on with being on good terms with our inner child. And I may well say a bit more about that in a future video. This story, though, is about expecting the unexpected. And actually, it's a secondary theme. It's kind of about bereavement as well. And it's important to say that confidentiality is key in counselling. So what you're about to hear is fictionalised. I've worked in around a dozen different secondary schools in 3 areas of the UK over the past 20 years or so, and probably with hundreds of young people during that time. So the school I'm going to mention is a kind of composite picture of a secondary school, and Tom, whom we'll get to in a minute, is a fictional character, someone I've made up, though I'm drawing on my professional experience of working across the 11 to 18-year-old age range, and I'm thinking of young people of a range of genders and backgrounds. So here goes. We often don't realise that we're making assumptions about people until we discover that we've made a wrong one. So a couple of years ago, at a school where I was working a couple of mornings a week, the deputy head mentioned a student that she wanted me to see. Tom's just joined us, she said, partway through year 7. Parents are separating, we believe, and within the last year, his older sister has received inpatient care for an eating disorder. His nan, who's been really involved with the family and has helped raise him basically, she's died unexpectedly within the past fortnight. Do you think you could fit him in next Wednesday? So as I awaited Tom's arrival just after morning break the following Wednesday, I could almost feel myself putting on my quietest counselling voice. This, I thought, is one time where the chance to make someone a hot chocolate at the next door staff room is really going to come into its own. After that, I presumed there'd be a lot of gentleness, there'd be many explanations about counselling, and there'd be plenty of coaxing to gradually, bit by bit, say a little more about what was wrong. The young man that I was about to meet would probably look somewhat shell-shocked, and even, as novelists say, ashen. Within 30 seconds of meeting Tom, I realised how mistaken I'd been. Here was someone clearly loving life and absolutely 100% ready to meet with me, if only to demonstrate his ability to talk the hind leg off the proverbial donkey about favoured interests, which were roughly in this order: the keeping of reptiles and lizards, Marvel superhero movies, and Liverpool FC. And by the time the session ended, I did understand that there was definitely a role here for me as a counsellor. It was just that as I got to know Tom better, I did realise that what had recently happened in his life, particularly his nan's death, had affected him very deeply. It was just the family style that Tom had inherited was to deal with adversity through banter, through jokes, affectionate teasing, and the competitive telling of tall tales. And during the next several weeks, I heard many about Nan. What I had realised that what I had realised was that from the few basic details that the deputy head had given me about Tom, I basically assigned him to the wrong column. And it was only at that point that really I saw clearly the categories that I'd been working with. So, on the one hand, there'd been the category of clients who need a lot of encouragement and cluing in before they can make something of counselling. And then on the other hand, there'd been the category of clients who need a bit of directional guidance in order that counselling doesn't just become a series of fun chats or even a stand up comedy routine with an audience of one, which would be me. So, did I abandon my categories entirely after that? Well, no, not as such, because I still need to be ready to deal with the almost silent, with full on extroverts, and with every personality type in between, which is most of us. Because we can many of us be ready to try expressing a little more of ourselves in the world, or on the other hand, any of us, teenager or adult, may need permission to begin to drop the always happy class joker mask that we wear. But the surprise of meeting Tom and finding the experience of counselling him to be so different to what I'd expected, that had been a wake up call, the kind that we all need sometimes. And it was a welcome encouragement to become aware of some of the assumptions that I've been holding in mind, thereby learning to hold some of those assumptions and categories so much more lightly, I should say. And I think the take home message from this is about expecting the unexpected. So, as a prospective counselling client, you'll have expectations about counselling, as most of us do, about most things. Maybe having heard from friends or family members, or maybe from seeing how counselling is portrayed in TV shows and movies, both realistic portrayals and the other kind. And as a counsellor, my commitment to you is I'm glad about the one or two sentences that maybe you put in your initial email or text message to tell me why you're seeking counselling at this time. Or maybe you didn't put much in your first message. Maybe it was just, please make a time to call me. But either way, there's no expectation that because of the concern or life problem you described, that you'll be showing up in any particular specific way. Life, after all, can be as full of surprise as it is of difficulty and trouble. So let's expect the unexpected together as we look for answers, coping strategies, and new ways of being. Thank you for joining me over the last 8 minutes or so, and please do join me again next week when I share a couple of jokes and unfold what they might imply for us about the process and journey of counselling. Thank you.